DDG presents the second PS5 showcase, and we actually have pricing and dates for the next-gen consoles in the middle of September.
But could you have imagined? We were getting towards the end of that 40 minutes, and I was like, what if? What if they hold it back?
All right, so my name is Dave Hunt. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined, as always, by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? I've had an interesting day. Super happy to talk about video games, though.
So we're going to recap the PS5. We're going to talk a little bit more about Xbox towards the end when we get into some of the pricing. But I don't want anybody to think that we're like favoring towards one console over the other. But as of right now, over the last 2 weeks, Microsoft has came out and said, here's our boxes, here's our prices, here's our date. Sony came out and said, here's our boxes, here's our prices, here's our date, and here's more games. And so that warranted the conversation. But it still will be a conversation about Xbox, as well as with pre-orders going live, and then the new GPU 3000 series pre-orders have been going live. It's a really kind of like wallet-hurting week. 10 days right now. So if you are somebody that tries to play on all three systems, like you keep up a gaming PC, you've always played on Xbox, you've always played on PlayStation, like this can be a pretty expensive month for you.
Very expensive.
Yeah. So, but we are going to go over what we saw today during the PS5 showcase, about 40 minutes. We're recording this on the evening on Wednesday night of the showcase. Today is what, the 15th? Yeah.
16th.
Yeah, so today's the 16th. This show should be live on the 17th. And then again, depending on what order you listen to this, for episode 46 released this Thursday morning, the 17th, and this is releasing Thursday afternoon on the 17th. So some of the stuff, if you're listening to this first, some of the stuff we talked about in 46 might sound a little off, or vice versa. But it is what it is. It's important. It's important for us to keep our routine schedule for numbered episodes, but then when things like this happen, it warrants a conversation, so we're going to jump right into it. So yeah, first of all, I guess we can jump right into it. The pre-orders are just a mess.
Yeah, Best Buy's cucking me right now.
Yeah.
Everything's in my cart. It just won't let me finish. It's really annoying. I just want to hit checkout.
All the rumors were that like pre-orders were going to go up the next day after the event, which the event said nothing about pre-orders. And then all of a sudden you started seeing a couple leaks and a couple bookmark pages, and then some people were like, I got it, and others are got it, and I was like, you know what, forget it. I got up and I went to GameStop, and they had like 3 left or 2 left or whatever. I got like the last digital one, put down a little bit of money, walked away. I don't have to worry about shipping. Like, as much as I'm not a huge fan of GameStop. There's 4 or 5 of them within 20 minutes of my house, so that if I needed to
hopefully they're still there by the time the system comes out.
If I needed to go to 2 or 3 different GameStops to get this taken care of, like, it was a viable option. Like we talked about on episode 46, there's always the concern about shipping and allocation and when you get it and delivery, and how messed up FedEx, UPS, post office are. So I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I'm just gonna go do something, and I don't even care if I have to pick it up on the day of release, like in the afternoon. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, who knows? Because a friend of mine brought up a point, like, how are they gonna handle like the midnight launch? Are they just gonna let 100 people line up? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I'll get mine in a designated time slot or something. But yeah, I think that if you're listening to this when it's live on the podcast feed, most of the pre-order sites should be live by then. But the stuff that's been going on the night of the 16th after the event has been crazy. So, just have some patience, I guess. But all right, so we're going to kick it off with just jump right into what they did, and they jumped right into the game. So the first caveat thing that we saw was this is a game running on PC, optimized
emulating
for PS5.
PS5.
Emulating PS5.
Emulating PS5.
So,
yep.
And this was Final Fantasy 16, which will be a console exclusive for PS5, and so which means it's going to come to console and PC. Which I'm also curious now with the words console exclusive. Does this mean that this, in theory, could come to Stadia?
Yes, because that's not a console.
Right.
So yes, it could very well come to that.
Yeah. And then, but I mean, they showed like a long trailer. I don't know enough about the Final Fantasy lore or world to really understand what was going on in this trailer, but I thought it looked really good. In terms of like the hacking, slashing, the combat. And the biggest question is, can it maintain the frame rate? Like we've always been talking about the last couple of weeks, if these games are able to run at a higher than 60 FPS, or at 60 FPS in 4K, or 60 FPS or higher in 1080p, I think that all this stuff will look phenomenal. But if it can't run a consistent frame rate, I think it'll just feel like shinier PS4.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of the shinier PS4 stuff for the first like 2 years until we get like God of War or something major. I was pleasantly surprised with this Final Fantasy 16. This was rumored that it was going to happen, but it doesn't look fully like a Nomura Final Fantasy, which means it's not future city technology bullshit. There's still a lot of weird zipper and gelled hair, which makes me think Nomura still has his hands on character design, but overall it looks like it's going back to kind of that like medieval kind of, like that ancient old world vibes as opposed to being future stuff. So I'm kind of excited by that. Final Fantasy, my only problem with Final Fantasy is like the main characters always just come across as just like generic dude, way too much for my liking. But at least if this has the Final Fantasy VII Remake combat, I would be really happy with that, and just to get a change of pace as opposed to just being future tech city bullshit.
And it's a big get for it to be console exclusive as well. Final Fantasy is a marquee name. Like, even if it's not a genre that like you or I personally enjoy, like it's on the 16th plus iteration of this game. So like,
and even that number is kind of really a lie, because there's three. There's 3 Final Fantasy 13s, so it's. But yeah, it looked good. It worried me though when I'm glad they put the place card or whatever after this, saying like, okay, everything after this.
Yeah, when I saw that first place card, I'm like, are we just going to see a bunch of PC emulation? Or are we going to, you know, and then obviously the next card that they showed was, okay, now everything else you see going forward is on PS5.
Yes.
So, and then the next thing they showed was more Spider-Man Miles Morales. They showed a little bit of a cutscene, some interaction with another character. I don't know enough about the characters to guess who this person is. A friend of his.
I couldn't either.
Yeah.
And I think I know a decent amount about the lore, and I couldn't quite figure out.
A friend of his who knows he's Spider-Man. So then it shows him walking around Harlem, and then they cut to one of the producers for Spider-Man, and they talked about some of the stuff we knew already. This takes a year after the events of Spider-Man PS4, and then they started showing some of the security teams that they would be fighting against and the enemy that you're fighting against, and you just had a massive fight scene.
Did it just kind of feel like they're just showing us like an extended QTE? For me, like, this game looks good because I love Spider-Man and it like visually looks fine, but at the end of it I'm like, there's little bits of actual control.
The end looked like an extended QTE, but the combat of him fighting against the other people before the bridge broke looked really good.
That definitely looked good, but I was a little
My first question to you is maybe, and you just said you didn't know who the character was, so I don't know if you can answer this or not, but where is his electrical power coming from?
Miles has like extra abilities that Spider-Man doesn't have, or that Peter Parker doesn't have. So Miles has invisibility, and he has some ability to shock characters. So Miles does have extra abilities that Peter Parker doesn't have. Every different iteration of Spider-Man has some sort of different ability. So that's where that is coming from.
Do you think that anything like happens to him in that fight scene where he gets those tanks explode on him? Does that have any effect on? I know he did the electrical stuff before that happened, but does that look like it's early? Do you think that what we saw is very early on?
Well, I mean, it's definitely, like they said, a year after. It could be him still learning like the extent of those powers. Because it's only been a year and Peter doesn't have any like idea about those powers, because it's powers he doesn't have. So that's something Miles is going to have to learn on his own through the story, I would assume, as harnessing his abilities. So did it seem like did the guy say specifically that we're only looking at the game in Harlem, or the game is primarily taking place in Harlem? Because that was something I probably need to rewatch it again, because they destroyed the bridge and it made me wonder,
like, can you not leave Harlem now?
Is that how they're gonna do it, of just like, hey, the bridge is broken, sorry. But it looks good.
I mean, it was impressive, the the cutscenes and the movement, and obviously when he's jumping from car to car, like, you're not doing that, that's a cutscene. But the combat looked good. At the same time, it makes me want, because I still haven't started Spider-Man PS4, and it makes me want to play that. But now knowing that what we know with the stuff that came out afterwards, where they're going to be a deluxe version of Spider-Man Miles Morales that has Spider-Man PS4 on it, remastered for PS5. I'm almost tempted to wait this close, because it's like, why don't I just get the better looking thing? So,
Yeah.
so they said holiday 2020. And then it was confirmed to be a launch title, and it's going to cost $49.99 at the base, and the deluxe edition is $69.99.
And that comes with Spider-Man PS4.
Yeah, supposedly remastered. So, whatever that means. And I don't know if you want to get into this now or not, but it's also coming to PS4.
Yeah, we can get into it now. I thought that was like, when you texted to me, I'm like, what is your source? And then you're like, PlayStation blog. And I was like, well, damn, that's against everything they have said about this whole build up to the PS5. Is like everything you say here.
Yeah, Jim Ryan said, we believe in generations. And he also actually has a quote that says PS5 games won't work on PS4. So now, I mean, the more I think about it is like, did they ever say that the Spider-Man Miles Morales is a PS5 game? Did they come out and say that? Not exactly, but comparing them to their competitor with Microsoft was very transparent with all of this from the start. And if they would have been running a trailer, it would have had Xbox One, Xbox Series, and Xbox Game Pass logos all over it. I mean, like, there's no misunderstanding of like, is this game coming to Series X? Is this game coming to Xbox One? Is this part of Game Pass? Is it not part of Game Pass? Like, that was always clear from the start.
Yeah, it was always clear, and we'll just get into it now. The list of games that are going to be available on PS5 and PS4 are Miles Morales, Sackboy Adventure, and then Horizon Forbidden West, which I told you when you gave me that list. Spider-Man, it makes sense. It's just an expansion, really. Or, you know...
I don't think Sackboy is a super taxing game.
Yeah, Sackboy's not a super taxing game. But when they said Horizon, I was just baffled by that. Of just like, wait, that's the game that comes out in like a year or two.
Well,
most likely closer
I believe
to 2.
it's going to come out in 2021, because now it's just a PS4 game with shinier stuff.
Yeah, which kind of bums me out a little bit, because it's just like, I wanted Horizon to be the showstopper, and I don't feel like it can be the showstopper now because it's going to be on PS4.
Now, what it also, and I don't want to get too off track here, but what also there's two levels of quote unquote concern that I have now around Ratchet and Clank. The first concern is, can Ratchet and Clank run on PS4? And I think the answer to that is no. I truly believe the answer to that is no. But does that mean that maybe Ratchet and Clank might be even farther out than Horizon Forbidden West from releasing?
Yes, I can think that's possible.
You know, so are we talking about maybe Horizon in like the May-June timeframe, which is usually when the Uncharted Last of Us game comes out, and then we see Ratchet and Clank at the holiday, fully ramped up?
They said during Gamescom that it's launch window, and I feel like they wouldn't have said that during Gamescom unless they meant it. So Ratchet and Clank will probably still come out in the first half of next year.
Okay, but that expresses another concern then of where, okay, so I get it. The first couple months you have PS3, you have PS5, PS4 games, Spider-Man, Sackboy. Okay, like whatever. Like, I don't like it, but I get it. Like, I think it's great for consumers, but I think it goes against their messaging and what they've been saying since June. So the end of 2020, you get a couple PS4, PS5 games coming out. Early 2021, say end of December, January, February, you get Ratchet and Clank coming out only on PS5. And then in the summer, you get Horizon coming out that's PS4, PS5.
Yeah, I don't get it either. It doesn't make sense to me. But if we're going off what they've told us in the past, that is exactly what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And that to me makes no sense. But it's until they confirm things, we can only speculate on like the logic behind that.
And what sucked too is that the main source after this event was Keighley. Jeff Keighley was the main source for saying this is a launch game. This is not a launch game. Blah 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 blah. Like, I felt like if you were not in the know to go to Twitter or go to the PlayStation blog after the show, you missed out on so much stuff, and you may or may not have been misled. Yeah,
you could definitely see where people would just be confused on everything. I'm glad we're recording this like 4 or 5 hours after it's done, because then we got some of the clarification. Because if we're recording this afterwards, like immediately after hit record, there definitely would have been some confusion.
Stuff would have
We're
been
still
breaking while
confused.
we were recording.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's an interesting decision, and I feel like it just goes in like like maybe you decided to change your messaging after June and all of the quote unquote positivity that Microsoft's been getting for this, but I honestly feel like this is September 16th, and you were June 11th when you first announced these games. Like, if you should have said it then. And if this decision was, I find it hard to believe that this decision was made in the last 90 days, because that's just not a shift in development that you can make. I don't think.
Yeah, no, it definitely isn't. It just means that they just weren't being front facing or honest when they were originally presenting that information, which just happens with video games way too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this is just we're gonna have to live in the world with the current Sony of find out more information after the press conference,
Yeah.
or wait for Jeff Keighley to break news, because they don't have those personalities that they put on like for a pre-show or a post-show thing anymore. Like, they don't have that ability to do that, and we're just gonna have to deal with this, because it would have been great if there was like a real post-show after this to just break down everything like they used to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it might just be difficult, though. I feel like you could pre-record a post-show. It doesn't have to be live, and just break down all the little details that were just kind of lost on Twitter or in press release emails and the PlayStation blog, which the PlayStation blog was breaking on me consistently for a good hour after this event.
Yeah, because I think everybody was trying to go to it, and everybody was like refuting certain things, and or something like that comes out to the point of where you and I are in the know. I read something because I just happen to be on Twitter, and oh, I clicked on the link and I send it to you, and you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, where are you getting that from? I'm like, the horse's mouth. You're
Yeah.
like, oh.
Well, yeah. Especially I was at work at the time, so
Yeah.
I couldn't confirm anything.
Good.
So I was just like,
so then the next game they showed is from WB, and it's called Hogwarts Legacy. So I at first, even the second time I was watching this, I was watching it with my wife, and I said, "Oh, it's the Harry Potter game," and she's like, "Well, it's not the Harry Potter game. It's that universe, but it's both. It's Hogwarts and Harry Potter, right?"
well, it's the Potterverse, which is what you call that whole universe. That's their version of the MCU. So yeah, it's Hogwarts Legacy. It looks like you're actually creating your own character, and it's going to be an original story. I was kind of surprised that Sony included this in their thing, just because J.K. Rowling is a piece of shit. So it's definitely one of those things where it's just like, if you follow any Harry Potter stuff, or there's any Harry Potter fans in the chat or listening, they know the drama with J.K. Rowling. So, and the drama continues to go with J.K. Rowling. So I was kind of surprised to see it in the PlayStation event.
Mm-hmm.
I figured this would be something that Warner Brothers would kind of keep on the down low for a couple more months and hope J.K. Rowling shuts the fuck up. But I guess she won't shut up, so they just had to reveal this. It looks interesting. It looks good. It looks like a real Harry Potter game, which is something Harry Potter fans have been wanting for a long, long time. So Down Up Destiny in the chat is just talking about because of J.K. Rowling, a lot of people are donating money to the Trevor Project or other LGBT communities and charities, just because they want to offset the fact that they want to support Harry Potter universe stuff, but also need to counterbalance that with something.
Yeah.
So the game looks good, but as soon as I saw the trailer, and as someone who just read the Harry Potter books this year, I want a good Harry Potter game. But damn, did J.K. Rowling just kind of bum me out, because at the end, after
is she involved in the writing of this?
No, but she still makes all the money from Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where if you're buying it, you're just adding to her bank account. Mm-hmm. It's such a bummer, because I got super excited watching this trailer. I'm like, hell yeah, this is what I want from a Harry Potter game, and then just remembering all of the garbage that comes with this franchise now.
So it definitely looks cool. Do you think that there's going to be? I don't know enough about this, so if I flub this, I'm sorry. But do you think there's you're going to make different classes of wizards?
Yeah, I think so. I feel it's
Okay.
going to be create your own character. You'll
Yeah, I saw
uh,
I saw different characters. So
yeah, well, I'm hoping there's different houses that in the Harry Potter universe. So each house has a different set of personality traits associated with that house. So I'm assuming that would kind of dictate your character's abilities and maybe dictate your story a little bit. Like if
okay,
you pick
yeah,
Slytherin, you tend to be more evil. So
yeah. My wife
there's
saw that. She's
personality
like, maybe
traits.
you pick between good and evil. I'm like, I don't know if you'd go that far. I was just saying that maybe one's more close combat, one's farther combat. Like, so, but
Yeah, so I can see there being some sort of different abilities or the personality types playing like a role in this, and that is what's intriguing. And I just like that it's not directly related to Harry Potter. It's
mm-hmm.
in that universe, but you're not playing as like a classmate of Harry Potter. Or at least I
Right.
hope you're not.
Yeah.
So I want to see where this goes.
Yeah,
And this
they
hope.
didn't give. I mean, other than 2021. Excuse me. Sorry, they didn't give very much other information on it. Do you think it's just a single player, or do you think it could be like 2 or 3 people on the same team?
I I think it's going to be single player, but I would really like, just because when you think about Harry Potter, you think about Harry, Ron, and Hermione being together. I would hope there's some sort of co-op element to get a small group in together and kind of recreate some of that like magic,
Mm-hmm.
no pun intended. If you have some sort of co-op experience in the game,
Yeah. So
so
yeah,
I'm interested.
that seems to be 2021. Being that big of a name, or and like even some of the stuff that you've been talking about with J.K. Rowling's, maybe it'll get pushed back into like about this time next year. So maybe some stuff calms down.
Yeah, hopefully that's all I want is just them to come out, or they can get the ultimate revenge. And when you create your character could be trans. That would be nice. Just to kind of poke at J.K. Rowling a little bit.
All right. And then after that, they showed off Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. They showed an early on. I think they said first campaign mission actually. Um, go ahead?
Oh no, they had someone from Raven
Yeah.
introduce the game,
Yeah.
correct? Which I thought was a little odd, but
Yeah. So I mean, Raven's always been kind of that auxiliary studio, so obviously they're helping Treyarch. But then during the campaign mission, so the first thing that came to mind with me is that their campaigns are always like super cool set pieces. But they always seem to be kind of short campaigns. They're never like bad, but they're never what I would call like meaningful.
no.
So and then the first thing that jumped out to me is like, did you feel like the weaponry looked sooner than 1981?
To be honest, I didn't pay that close attention to it. Just because soon as I saw Call of Duty and then I saw them take out the little RC car, I'm just like, okay, Call of Duty. Just kind of
Down of
like
Destiny in the
zoned
chat
out.
says Raven's making the campaign.
Okay, that makes sense. That Raven's doing a campaign. It's just usually like Activision's a little quiet on like Raven helping in terms
Yeah.
of they always just throw like the major names out there.
Yeah, I just felt like there was a remote control car that they were using. That one I thought went really, 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 really fast, and two just seemed to be a little bit more what I would not consider 1981, along with the style of the gun and the red sights. Like, I mean, I guess maybe I don't pay that much attention to it, and you obviously notice it if it's like that's not a World War II style weapon or a World War I style weapon, and now this is only like 40 years ago, so. It's probably pretty close, but I mean that was the first thing that jumped out to me. But I mean that's not like it's a big deal, like I really care. But it looked good. I think the biggest news is that there's an alpha this weekend.
Yeah, the alpha for everyone on PlayStation.
Yeah, the 18th
so no,
to the
no
20th.
pre-order stuff.
So yeah, you can preload it. So whenever you're listening to this, you can probably just fire it up on your phone. If your phone's connected to your PlayStation, just preload it, and then you can do that. So.
I still can't pre-order my PS5. I keep clicking checkout when I can, and nothing. I don't think I'm getting it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. So, and then they showed off Resident Evil 8 or Village Resident Evil. Again with a 2021 time frame. Obviously, they're going more towards the Biohazard Resident Evil 7 mantra of horror, which seemed to work really well. Resident Evil 7 sold really, really well. It just doesn't interest me even the slightest.
Yeah, I'm just too much of a chicken for it. And I guess the big thing with this is they tease the shopkeeper
Sure.
in the game.
I mean, I said the
This
same thing when my wife and son were watching it with me, and I'm like, there's probably some massive Resident Evil fans that are watching this trailer and are seeing some of the smallest things in the world that they're like, oh, that's a tease for that, and I don't have any idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm out of the loop,
Yeah.
but I know the shopkeeper from Resident Evil 4, and I'm just like, are they reintroducing like the shopkeeper
It
in
looked
this new game?
good. The scenes and stuff that they're showing look good. For some reason I kept thinking I got like a Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas kind of feel to it on some of the scenes they were showing.
Dude, I like when they were showing it, I looked away the first time
Yeah.
when I was like, oh, it's just Resident Evil 8, and I looked away, and then I saw that like
That child scene, right?
yeah, the storybook thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh shit, what is this game? And then
Yeah.
it turned back into Resident Evil, and I got kind of disappointed. Like I wanted to see more of that because it almost reminded me of the stuff that EA showed during EA Play with like some of their cool little side-scrolling games that they were making.
Uh-huh.
So I was just like, damn, what is that game? And then it was just more Resident Evil, and I was like, I'm too chicken shit to play Resident Evil games. So
Yeah. And then they showed Deathloop, Q2 2021. They kind of explained the story, I guess, a little bit more. So I'm gonna tell you what I think is happening in this game, and I want to tell me if you get the same vibe. So it appears that you're being hunted by one primary assassin, and you are an assassin who is hunting 8 other targets. You are stuck in a time loop. I'm guessing it's a 24-hour time loop or less. I mean, or more. Maybe it's a 24 or 48-hour time loop. I feel like you're going to have to play through each of the 8 targets to determine certain activities that are happening, and then repeat these activities and do them in a particular order based on the information that you've collected.
yeah, and if you die, you have to do the whole thing over again potentially. That's what I got from it.
Yes, it's a
it
one and
looks-
done thing. So I feel like if these 8 target quote unquote missions might be 15 or 20-minute missions, so you might be able to like sit down and play through this entire game maybe in like 2 hours if you do it like 100% correctly. Kind of like a shorter, Rogue Legacy style, maybe Dead Cell style, where you can keep going through and then you learn something and I can't turn that corner because I died.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Or find more secrets and
Yeah.
Easter eggs
or,
and stuff like that
you
by taking different
you trigger
routes.
an activity that you see that your target go to a different point. You're like, okay, if I do that and do this, these 2 targets are in the same spot. Because it was talking about that guy's experiment, and he stopped his experiment, which meant he went to the party, which meant he was able to kill 2 targets at the party, like the 2 birds with 1 stone thing. That's the kind of the gist I'm getting from it, and it looks fascinating. But yeah, it is a concern of like if you die, like what if you got to target 6 or 7 and you die? Like, are you just like you're totally screwed?
Yeah, that is my only concern. I'm patiently waiting for them to explain all of that, which they might have done already, and I've just been oblivious to it.
This was initially supposed to be a launch window thing in June, and then we heard from Bethesda that it was being delayed, and then now they just say Q2 2021. It was supposed to be like a launch window title when they first showed it.
Yes, yeah, and it got delayed because COVID just messed up like the work pipeline.
Yeah.
It looks great though. Though this is one of those games that when I was watching it played and I was seeing it work perfectly, I'm like, this is one of those games that I feel like it's either going to be amazing or terrible. Like
Right.
if they can't get the mechanics in that loop perfect, I don't think there's a middle ground where
Yeah.
you walk away and being like, oh, this was okay.
Or if the
I think
loop's
it's
too
going to be
punishing,
one or the other.
or if the loop's too punishing and you're 3 hours in and you mess up and you have to start all the way back over, the people are gonna be like, "F it, I'm done."
Yeah. Like I need to know like exactly how punishing the loop is when you die, because man, that would be frustrating. But it looks good. Like this is definitely a day one buy for me.
Yeah.
I wish this was coming at launch because this would be my launch game.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very intriguing. And then this one kind of confused me a little bit, but it looked amazing. So Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition is going to be available digitally on launch, and this is the same thing I said. This is the same concept I'm saying about Final Fantasy 16. If this game can run at a higher frame rate, higher than 60, and look this good, this will work. If it doesn't, it won't. And if it doesn't run higher than 60, there's no point in bringing this to next-gen consoles.
But doesn't it already run on 60 on PS5?
I'm saying it's going to run
or
higher.
PS4?
It's going to run higher than 60 frames. Like they're saying some games can run up to 120 frames. So like, why else would you be bringing this game to PS5?
I don't know. I honestly don't think PS5 has the hardware to run anything at 120 frames per second. So we'll have to see if they can pull that off. But yeah, I mean, as long as it runs smoother, they
Yeah.
fix Yeah, they're targeting 60 frames with this one.
Okay. But what did it
So,
run at PS4?
uh, I don't know, but
It's fine.
so it looks like they're targeting 4K 30 frames per second, and then they're giving a 1080p 60 frames per second thing. So something tells me the frame rate was choppy on a PS4,
Okay.
because it looks like they're still trying to target 4K 30, and then they're trying to do 1080 60, which means it wasn't capable of doing those numbers on the PS4.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Johnny as a boy because I know he loves these games, so he'll be able to tell me more or less if it's at what frame rate it was running at and how good or bad the frame rate was.
Yeah.
And then the next game they showed was Oddworld Soulstorm. They gave no date on this. This is the Abe's Odyssey style game. This is one of those games that I look at and it's like, okay, like maybe this is really showing the power of the PS5 because you're getting more action from the foreground and the background, and then you're instead of it just being like a boring side scroller that you're like moving a lot of things around and there's going to be a lot more action going on, and then the world feels more alive because it kind of rotates with you. Like it showed them like turning a corner and then the camera moving. It showed some stuff happening from the far background like interfering with the foreground. But it looks like an Oddworld game.
That's my takeaway from it too, is just I like the Oddworld games, but then every time they make a new one, I just wonder why they're making a new one.
I just always get a Lemmings feel from these games.
I just kind of just I've played like I think all of them, but I haven't finished any of them because it's just like after a while I'm just like, okay, and I put it back on the shelf or the digital shelf and just walk away from it. It seems weird that Oddworld was featured in this.
Yeah. And again, no, especially with no date. Like again, this would be something like another check mark in the box of like, here's an Oddworld game at launch, like just another thing to have as of a game library, but we don't have a date for it, so that's just a little weird. And then they did a Five Nights at Freddy security breach. I don't understand this franchise.
Okay, so like how I was saying with Oddworld, I am more confused by how Five Nights at Freddy. I know it's super popular. It's in the toy aisles. People love this franchise, but how this gets into the PlayStation 5 event before the console launch is and just again, I don't know.
No date. Like no, not even a 2021 placard. Nothing. It just was like Five Nights at Freddy security breach, black screen. So,
I don't understand it, but like I know people like this franchise. I know people love it, so I'm happy it's there for the people that are gonna enjoy this game. But I just never understood Five Nights at Freddy.
So then they showed the PlayStation Studios logo, and I started paying a little bit more attention because now like it was like Oddworld, Five Nights at Freddy, in a row, and I'm like I was kind of like they were losing me a little bit. They showed the PlayStation Studios logo. I kind of got excited. They showed the Japan Studio logo. I was like okay, and then Blue Point. I was like it's Demon Souls. I was like okay. Which is fine. Like it looks amazing. I don't think it's a remake warrants $70 price tag, and it being your marquee title at launch.
I think it's a big game though. This is something that the fans want. This is something that it's a big deal, and it's something people have wanted for a very long time.
Yeah,
so I think this is a big deal.
But it's amazing to me that this is $70.
That's just how much games cost now.
But it's a remake.
It's how much games cost now. It's a full remake, though. It's not a
I get it.
Like here's a higher resolution Mario bullshit.
And it looked great. Like everything that they showed looked amazing. I don't know. Again, I don't have anything to compare it to, but like him transitioning from the rooms with the fog, that was super fast. So I mean, it seemed like everybody was really excited about it. This seems to be on the top of people's list since they saw it in June. It's like you said, it's been something that's wanted and warranted, but I wish that there was something bigger first party at launch. That's all.
Yeah, I think this got my friends in my social circle to be like, Demon Souls $70 day one, cool. I'm gonna pre-order my console now because this is a system seller for them. They were already gonna get the system, but this is the thing that's gonna push them over the edge, and it does look great.
Mm-hmm.
From what they showed. I know it's not the most exciting and bombastic trailer, but it is the most Demon Souls trailer that they could have put out there,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
just
absolutely.
showing like one hit kills, dodging a couple times, and then just getting killed by the boss after 2 hits.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I mean, I
this
know that
is.
these games are always been punishingly hard.
I still have my collector's edition that I've only played for an hour on the PS3. Maybe I'll end up buying this and then getting a little further. Who knows? But I'm glad they put it in here. I'm glad it's a launch day thing because they need as many
Yeah,
launch day
yeah.
things as you can. And I think it's a good
I think
launch
it'd be
game.
great as a launch title if it was like the third or fourth option. That's all. That's just me. So,
Okay.
so then they showed off something with Fortnite. Quickly, just saying, hey, we're gonna be on PS5. I thought they would talk about like ray tracing because they've been talking about Fortnite ray tracing on the 3000 series card. So I thought they would say something about ray tracing, but they didn't. They just said on PS5, and I'm thinking in my mind like, duh. Like that's inevitable. But then they showed PS Plus collection. So I think I got all of these. So they showed, okay, so the PS4, or I'm sorry, the PS Plus collection coming at launch to PS5 will include God of War, Bloodborne, Monster Hunter World, Final Fantasy 15, Fallout 4, Mortal Kombat X or 10, whatever you want to call it, Uncharted 4, Ratchet and Clank, which I'm assuming is the PS4 remake, Days Gone, Until Dawn, Detroit Become Human, Battlefield 1, Infamous Second Son, Batman Arkham Knight, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us 1 Remastered, Persona 5, and Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
That's a pretty decent lineup if it's just included with your PS Plus subscription.
Yeah, it's a decent lineup. At the same time, I'm still a little disappointed that there's no real answer for Game Pass. I guess this is their like temporary band-aid for Game Pass.
For $50 or $60 a year, this many games being given to you is a win.
But it's just going to be. I feel like it's not enough.
Right. But my concern automatically goes to, okay, we had the quote unquote instant game collection at the beginning of PS4's life cycle, where they were like the first 6 months or 12 months, I think, of PlayStation. If you got like it was even at the end of PS3, they were starting to advertise like 6 or 8 games that were always part of PS Plus, and eventually those faded away.
Yes.
So is that same thing going to happen with the PS Plus collection? Is this going to be the collection, and then maybe we get an upgrade to an update to the collection every year? If something like that happens, like this might be okay. If these titles fade away, that's not cool. Game Pass stuff comes and goes, but they've pretty much said from a Game Pass standpoint, Xbox Studio games are going to be on Game Pass. So like Halo's not going to go away. Gears isn't going to go away.
Halo's not going away.
Yeah. From Game Pass, so.
But it's, I don't know, when I saw it, it's cool. Like maybe it's because I played all of those games except Persona, that I'm just not as excited for it.
But
I was really hoping.
That's a real caveat though, because PS4 won the console war for that generation, and winning that console war with the software of God of War, Uncharted 4, Bloodborne, Until Dawn, Detroit, Second Son, like these are all exclusive games. Last of Us Remastered, like these are games that people bought PS4s to play. They're not buying a PS5 to play them.
Yeah, then that's my thing is like I was hoping they would have something more to show when it came to services other than like, hey, here's Instant Game Collection 2.0. It's still cool for people that are jumping into the PS5, though I don't know if there's enough people that are going to come from the Xbox One to the PS5 just because of how crazy a difference it was in terms of PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 sold versus Xbox Ones. So I don't know how big of a deal this is going to end up in the grand scheme of things. This will probably help games like Days Gone, like the tier 2 AAA exclusives that PlayStation had. But how many people are going to want to play the PlayStation 4 version of God of War on the PS5 that they've probably already played? Unless Sony like enhances like some of these big games, I just don't see it as much of a reason for people to get excited over.
Yeah, I mean, this would have been a great time to say, coming to PS5 with PS Plus collection and upscaled, like some form of upscaling.
But sadly, there was no upscale or anything with it. So I will see more about this collection. It's a decent lineup of games. I was just hoping we would get something related to PlayStation Now,
Mm-hmm.
and just finally just get those services in, as opposed to being like, hey, here's the games running on PS4. Hope you're not a big fan because you probably already have all of these games, and guess what? Big fans are going to be the ones that buy it at launch. So
Right. Yeah, just
I
definitely didn't feel like, and like again, the expectation, I feel like they're going to use the PS Plus collection as their protective shield of when people are like, hey, like PS5 launched in November. What are our PS Plus games for PS5 for November? And they're just going to
yeah,
point like, well, we just gave you 14 games, like, which
that
really
is
good enough. Like like the expectation, we had PS4 games on PS Plus the first month it was out.
yeah, that is a valid concern too. Just like how will PS Plus end up being handled overall
Yeah.
with it? Will we see any sort of drop down in quality for PS Plus because there's an instant game collection, which has a ton of first party stuff,
Mhm.
so that should help a little bit in terms of them getting deals with third parties. But I don't know if it was that big a deal to basically kind of end the show. I know they had the one more teaser and then we got the price and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
that felt like they were setting that up as like the end of the base show, and then we get the price reveal and then one more game announcement. Didn't feel that impactful, especially with Game Pass just kind of killing it
Mm-hmm.
with their deals with EA and just xCloud. I felt like Sony needed something else if you're even going to bring up PlayStation Plus
Right.
at all during this event.
So then they showed the consoles, like some close-up pictures of the consoles again, and they showed the prices and the dates. So it's November 12th for like 7 major areas like U.S., Canada, Japan, Europe, like and then they're November 19th for everywhere else in the country. It's a Thursday,
Okay.
kind of weird. 2 days after Xbox is November 10th, obviously, and then the physical version is $4.99. The digital version is $3.99. So yeah, I was wrong. Everybody else was right.
I was right.
Because you just went with the majority.
No, I most people were saying $50 off. I was like, no, it's gonna be $100.
So yeah, I mean it's the $100 price difference. And then I saw some picture today, and I think that they clarified it later, but that the hard drive specs on the digital console were unknown.
No,
But it's the same drive. It's the same drive as the physical one. So they're exactly the same, except for one just doesn't have a disk drive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's $100 less for no disc. So the and then after that they showed a God of War Ragnarok teaser, and they said 2020.
Yeah, which was like barely a teaser because we knew it was going to be Ragnarok if you played God of War originally. Like they already said it's going to be Ragnarok, so that wasn't that big of a deal. But we should probably just focus on like the price and release date. I know you were expecting it to be more for like the digital edition.
Okay, a lot of what I was basing it on, like I said, if you've listened to 46, and I said it a little bit on Facebook too, a lot of what I was basing that on was playing games only on PS5.
Yeah.
And that's not entirely the case now.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be experiences only on PS5. If Horizon's going to come to PS4, Spider-Man Miles Morales is going to come to PS4, Sackboy is going to come to PS4. If it, I think that lowers, in my opinion, the allure of upgrading to the next gen console quicker, which makes the price the pricing that they've done a little bit more valid. If all of those games were coming to PS5 only, I think that maybe their price might have been higher.
Yeah, I don't. So I feel like now that we saw the price, the only game of chicken I think Sony was playing was with the digital edition, because they knew like the Lockhart was real, and they were probably super worried about what Lockhart was going to be priced at. So as soon as the Xbox Series X was or Xbox Series S was revealed, that kind of changed their game plan. But they also were probably relieved to find out that it is like a way less powerful machine.
Mm-hmm.
So then that basically made their game plan for like, okay, with our digital edition one, instead of $50 difference, we're going to do a $100 difference. We're going to take a bigger hit on this one and make it up with digital sales, which is going to be, the big thing for them, especially as digital keeps growing. I think they always planned for it to be $500, and they were just waiting for Microsoft to make their claim so that then they can get away with $500. They were just wondering if Microsoft would do anything crazy and go under $500. And then as soon as Microsoft said $500, they probably were like, "Oh, thank God!"
Yeah,
and then mark that price down.
Sony does get the banner that says 4K gaming starting at $399.99. Like they get that banner. Xbox can't say that.
Kind of, but they can say it with an asterisk of like games can be upscaled to 4K,
right? Or Sony can say true 4K gaming $399.99 or whatever, however they want to spin it.
The full PlayStation experience minus discs at $399.
So yeah,
then
go ahead.
So then we also got other prices. So the controllers are going to cost $70. So increase in price, but not bad. I was expecting them to go Joy-Con $80.
Right.
The Pulse headset is going to be $100. These are U.S. prices. Canada's more expensive. The new camera is going to be $60, which I think is the standard price the cameras have always been.
Seems to be. I want to say PS4 was like $50, but
yeah. The media remote $30, which sounds about right.
That's supposed to have direct buttons too, to like like the Roku remotes have like Netflix.
Yeah,
and
it's
Hulu
like Disney Plus,
Plus,
Netflix, YouTube. Yeah. And then the DualSense charging station is $30, but who cares about that? But first party games are gonna be $70. They're gonna be $69.99, which I think between 2K saying that, and I think we got a confirmation on a couple other games are gonna be $69.99. That's just this is the future. I know, Dave, you're in the same boat as me where we agree that the prices, it's been a long time coming for video game prices to increase, so I don't think either one of us are upset.
No.
I mean, we don't want to spend extra money, but we understand why.
I get it. It makes me a little bit more concerned about Miles Morales being $50. Like in terms of what we were talking about, like the Lost Legacy style is the $50 PS5 game, the new $40 PS4 game. Which yes. Again puts it more in the Lost Legacy world, like which is what we've been expecting. So that does concern me a little bit more, but not to a crazy extent of like it looks like it's going to be a cool experience. Then the controller is not bad. Like that's if it does all the DualShock 4s are $59 or $64 right now, especially like for the special limited edition color, they're $64.99. And they don't nearly have the tech in it that the DualSense will have. It appears the DualSense should have a whole bunch of more tech in it that people may or may not use. The lack of like they talk about the camera, but I would we know that the current camera will work with a dongle, and then the not even addressing VR at all 2 months from launch 2 months from launch is a little odd, like not even talking about it or showing a single game for VR, whether it is a PS4 to PS5 game. I think that is a little weird, especially with that would be the primary use for the camera, unless you need the camera for Astrobot.
No, I think Astrobot is built around the controller.
Yeah, and that's preloaded on your consoles. Like that's that's something that I think they're missing as well. Even with a little logo on the corner of the screen when they show it includes Astrobot, because they at least have a game for you to play. Mm-hmm. And then I mean we can talk about it right now. I feel like I think you're different than I am right now. I feel like their launch library of PS5 exclusive games that you can only play on PS5 is terrible.
Oh, that you can only play on PS5 or just the PS5 launch games?
That you can I don't consider a game you can play both to be a PS5 launch game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but so for me, I will just say like the first party launch lineup isn't bad. Yeah, the caveat of 2 of those games are playable on PS4 is there.
There's like 7 bullet points on there, and only 2 of them are PS5 only.
Yeah, but I still think it's an impressive lineup for games on launch. Just compared to the past. Because if you're looking at first party games for the PS4's launch, it was what, Knack and
Killzone,
Killzone. That was it, I think.
Resogun.
Yeah, Resogun was a free PS Plus game, so
But if you
I'm
didn't
not
have
really gonna
Plus,
count
you
that.
still bought it.
No, I don't know if anyone would buy that if they didn't have. But I think they have a better first party lineup, because right now their first party lineup, I mean, yes, 2 of the games are going to be available on PS4, but you're looking at Astrobot Playroom,
Which comes with the
Demon's
console. All of them.
which comes with the console, which is good because
So
it's better than
that's Resogun.
yeah, if you had Plus day one. Demon Souls, which is going to be good for that hardcore audience.
Mhm.
Destruction All Stars, which has a chance to just take advantage of the fact that
that game looks like a $70 game.
no, I don't, but at least it's there. I mean, Knack was a $60 game. Do you think Knack was a $60 game? Then you have Miles Morales, and then you have Sackboy. So they at least have more than one game that's going to be there from first party, and then everyone else is going to fill in. Cyberpunk, I think, comes the week after this.
The 19th.
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
And then,
though I
like,
think there's
Watch
only a
Dogs
PS4 version.
is 12 days before that. And then Assassin's Creed is 2 days before it. Then you'll have, obviously the Maddens will transfer over. Call of Duty will transfer over. I believe Marvel's Avengers will transfer over. So there is plenty of stuff to play on your PS5. I was just really hoping for a marquee exclusive, and I thought Miles Morales would be it. Like
but then you found out the PS4 stuff.
Yes, which bothers me. And it bothers me because Jim Ryan has talked about generations, there's a quote from him that says like PS5 won't work on PS4, like I talked about earlier. And I guess you can, if you really start digging into their marketing, they never said that, PS5 only or exclusive to PS5. So there's definitely some weird marketing in there, but I don't believe that they made this decision after June 11th. This decision was made before June 11th. Before they showed the PS5.
It would have had to been logistically. It would have had to.
So
been made.
This is not them caving to Microsoft.
No, this is just them not being upfront early on, and then just now pulling the rug under fans a little bit.
Down Up Destiny in chat, was Killzone a marquee though? Yeah, based on the success of Killzone 1 and 2 as a franchise name. Yeah.
No. None of the Killzone games were successful enough to call them marquee games.
But
I'm sorry.
So then he's talking about Demon Souls. Demon Souls is a remake. You've already played the game. You already know what's going on. Like, I understand that they've rebuilt it from the ground up. Like, I get that. I respect that. But there's nothing that's going to happen in that game that nobody's playing that game for their first time on PS5.
No, but the people that
so you already
love
know
that
what's
game
happening.
will buy it again. I know that doesn't matter. It's just that's how people do that all the time.
So you're saying that Demon Souls is a higher franchise than Killzone at launch for PlayStation?
Yes, for sure. None of the Killzone games sold that well. I'm sorry. Like, Horizon was the true first success of Guerrilla, not Killzone. Like, Killzone 2, I love Killzone 2 to death. I put 2,000 hours into it. That game was not the Halo killer system seller that it was promised to be. Killzone 3 then kind of didn't go anywhere, and then Shadowfall came and went so fast.
No, I mean, it did
so
come and
fast.
go very fast. But I mean, I also feel like in Second Son came and went very fast as well. And, Infamous, it carries weight. It did carry weight.
But even, I would say Infamous, so a lot of the PS3 exclusives that were great outside of The Last of Us, they didn't hit their sales strides until the PS4. Like, the Uncharted games never sold Gears or Halo like units until Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is the first like Uncharted game that like sold a shit ton of copies right away. And the Infamous and Killzone, as great as they were on the PS3, they didn't sell a shit ton of units to then call them marquee games.
Well, he's down up Destiny. He's also talking about Ratchet and Clank, and I'll say this: I feel like if Ratchet and Clank was truly a launch window game, I know they just said it in Gamescom, like Michael just said, but if I feel like it was truly a launch window game, we would have seen it today. We would have seen something else for it today. I know they showed it a lot in the first session, and they showed it at Gamescom, but they would have showed another trailer for it, and they would have said holiday 2020. Because like, how big is launch window? Does it go to Easter?
It probably goes until Q1.
So
like
that's what
March.
March. Like that's I mean that's
Yeah,
5 months after
it's
the
going to be
console's
6
out.
months. Yeah, no, I feel like Nintendo kind of established like the extended launch window because Nintendo is notorious for doing that. Of just like, yeah, this will come at launch. It's like when February, and so you're just kind of confused by that. When they do that. So like launch window is Q1, so end of March.
Because that means that technically means Far Cry 6 is a launch window next gen game.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it works when they talk about this stuff. Because for these businesses,
but Infamous was delayed. Down Up Destiny. Infamous was delayed. Infamous was supposed to be a launch title and was delayed. Drive Club was supposed to be a launch title and was delayed.
Drive Club.
They're being
every time I hear Drive Club, I smile.
I'm just saying. They're not gonna. They aren't. They're using launch window with Ratchet and Clank so they can date it without delaying it.
Yeah, no, because Ratchet and Clank will basically release when Insomniac's ready. So then they'll go to Insomniac after the holidays and be like, "Can we release it yet?" And Insomniac's like, "No, we need another month," and then they can.
But again, depending on when you're listening to this, my analogy that I gave Michael for my reasoning for the consoles costing more talked about the attach rate of like Spider-Man as an exclusive is out the window now because it's going to be on both systems.
Yeah, like I'm hoping there's going to be. I hope that game looks amazing on PS5 and it runs so mind-blowing that just having it on PS4 makes no sense.
Well, it also makes a lot more sense now when they talked about loading up the city on PS4 and PS5.
Yeah, like we knew like the original was coming over, and then this
so it's just really it's really interesting the strategy that they've taken of this of keeping stuff out of the show, and then you find out when you read it later, which is like as I was reading that later, and I was like. Spider-Man, Sackboy, Horizon. What?
Horizon was the one that just made no sense to me because, like, I feel like Horizon is like a year or two away, and the fact that it's going to come to PS4 just immediately like took any excitement I had for Horizon down of being like a technical leap. I was expecting Horizon to be like the first holy shit marquee PS5 game. Like the second year of a new console is usually pretty huge. And now I'm looking at Horizon and being
we're
disappointed.
We're referencing the chat a lot more than we normally do, but it's also fun to interact with the chat, especially on these kind of things. So, Down Up Destiny, Horizon could be a holiday 2021 game. So you're going to tell me that you're going to release a marquee title for your previous console 14 months after your other one launches? Like, that's weird.
God of War 2 was only
like a
on
couple months
PS2
after, though. But that was only on PS2.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't remember I'd have to look at the time frame of when PS3 released to when God of War released, but I'm guessing it was less than 90 days.
Yeah.
Not over 365 days.
Let's see. Let me look that up.
So I mean, and again, it's just weird. Like if Horizon came out before Ratchet and Clank, I think that the trend works. Like, okay, we're working our way through PS4 into PS5. Here's where we make the transition. But if Ratchet and Clank comes out and only works on PS5, and then Horizon comes out and can work on both, then does that also, as crazy as this sounds, does that mean God of War can work on both?
Yeah, well, I think God of War is super far away.
It said 2021.
That shit will be delayed. So PS3 came out November 2006. God of War 2 came out March 13th, 2007. Okay. So it came out like months. 5 months
But
later.
That's launch window, so it's okay.
Yeah, so it's fine. I don't...
It's just a really weird strategy from what they've been telling us since June.
Yeah, no, and I think this is the problem is because why Microsoft has been able to put a face in front of it with Phil Spencer, who seems super upfront and sometimes high. They've had a personality they can point to, and they have a social marketing team that are kind of killing it. And PlayStation just hasn't had that person that they can put out center stage that people actually want to listen to. Because like Ryan did his interview runs, and each time it was just confusing or kind of like arrogant, or it came across arrogant when I read his stuff.
But he said PS5 won't run on PS4.
And that's the problem. I think they had the wrong dude pitching
Now,
this stuff.
Because I think if you ask the correct Sony person that maybe knows how to pitch it, they're going to tell you that Spider-Man is a PS4 game that runs better on PS5. Horizon is a PS4 game that runs better on PS5. But it was presented to us as Horizon Frozen West as a PS5 game during a PS5 showcase.
Yeah, and I think it all just comes down to like who's in charge and how they're marketing this, and I feel like they don't have their game plan straightened out, or they feel like they can get away with stuff and people just won't care. And most likely people won't care. The PS5 is going to sell like crazy. It's probably going to outsell the Xbox, and Horizon will sell a bajillion copies regardless of what platforms it is on. So I think they're just banking on that. And if they fib here and there, they just they know no one's going to give a shit because they're at the top. And it's a very dangerous game to play because eventually you will lose interest in the community, or people will lose interest or become untrusting of your marketing.
Now let me
just look at.
Yeah, let me be clear though. Is this good for the consumer? Yes. Is this good for games? Yes. Does this mean that you maybe don't feel obligated to spend $500 on a new next gen console, whatever console you choose to buy? Yes, because do you want to still have your Spider-Man experience on PS4 and you probably would be okay? Yes. Horizon is a great franchise for you to be able to play and not to have to worry about the barrier of entry of a $400 or $500 console. I like all of that. Just like I've said, I've liked all of what Microsoft is doing with what they're doing with next gen. I also feel like it will 100% hold back the ability for Miles Morales to be an amazing game, and it will be holding back Horizon to be an amazing game as well in terms of what it could do on the PS5 solely. And I don't like the marketing and the image that was presented from PlayStation since the middle of June. Ultimately, like, it's great for gaming, and I'm glad that, you know, if my son doesn't want to play on the PS5 or doesn't want to buy his PS5 in November, he can still continue his Spider-Man story with Miles Morales, and he doesn't have to worry about it. Maybe he won't even know that there's supposed to be faster loading times. But the image and the marketing that you presented to it is very contrary to what you said in your PlayStation blog after your second PS5 showcase.
And I wonder why. I guess they didn't want to just have Cerny out all the time. I feel like Cerny would have been a better representation, though he added his own confusion to things with that GDC stuff. That's been my whole problem with how PlayStation's handled this, is just they haven't been straightforward with all the little details.
They don't have the Atom Boys, the Shoe, and the Jack Trenton.
Yeah. Like,
or the Geo
or Sean Layden. They don't have, like, I would love the greatest used car salesman in the world, Jack Trenton, to roll up his sleeve and be like, I'm going to talk PlayStation right now. They don't have, like, every time there's been an Xbox announcement, Phil Spencer has been on someone's podcast. He's been on talking with Jeff Keighley or something. And PlayStation currently, they don't have that person that can sit down and do a one-on-one interview and talk to people straight. And I think that's a problem. And that leads to confusion. Just like, this video had its own issues, like this live stream where they put the wrong information at the end of Demon Souls.
Yeah, because it's had PC as well.
Yeah, and then they had to come back like, oh, sorry, someone fucked up the slide.
But that was my problem again with the launch lineup of where I was talking initially when I was looking at some of my frustration. I was talking about, and I've talked about this, like, exclusive PS5 gaming experience. At the time when I was looking at the launch lineup, Demon Souls wasn't an exclusive PS5 gaming experience. Now it is. Because they've clarified Spider-Man's not a PS5 exclusive gaming experience. Sackboy's not an exclusive PS5 gaming experience. Madden's not. Watch Dogs isn't. Assassin's Creed isn't. Cyberpunk isn't. Like, all of these games that are coming out, you can still be on Series Xbox One or PS5 or PC and be fine. The reason why I've been so frustrated and so animated the last couple of weeks or months about I wanted a price and I wanted a date for PS5 is because I wanted to know when and how much it was going to cost for me to play my games only on PS5. Then I get my date and my price, and I find out I don't have all these games that I only want to play on PS5.
So you're going to save money and you're not going to get any of them.
No, I bought both of them because I'm a sucker. Because on September 22nd, I'm gonna pre-order my Xbox Series X on Game Pass. You know, my Series S on hopefully on annual whatever.
The all access.
And I'll have within 2 days, I will have 2 next gen consoles in my house, and I'll have a wife that probably hates me.
Yeah. It's just, it's kind of frustrating how Sony's been running this whole thing. And as I'm frustrated,
people
just like
need to
you,
stop using the pandemic as a reason to change your marketing strategy. Apple's not doing it. Microsoft wasn't doing it. Apple, no, they just brought out their new phones with 3 different options, and they brought out the family plans or whatever that for the Apple Music and the Apple TV and the Apple the fingerprint scan. I don't even know what the hell is on it, but Microsoft has been doing the same strategy all year long of you don't have to upgrade. You don't have to upgrade. Sony was giving the image of we're coming out with our next console. There's going to be gaming experiences exclusive to that. And right now, the only thing that after today, the only thing that I see that's going to be exclusive to PS5 is shininess and ray tracing.
Yes, basically.
For $400.
And that is what you're getting on the Xbox as well. But there's less pressure to, or at least there's less perceived pressure to do it.
Now there's less pressure for the PlayStation 5 as well. They just told
us.
But
it's confusing.
They just told us 60 days before launch versus Microsoft that told us 6 months before launch.
Yeah. And that's just how it's going to be.
Sorry, back in like December of 2019 at the Video Game Awards.
Yeah. And that's just their strategy. Sony is basically... Xbox is like, hey, upgrade whenever you want. And Sony's like, hey, yo, that PS4 sounds like shit, doesn't it? Like, that fan sounds fucked up. You're going to get our new console, and you're going to like it. And guess what? I'm gonna buy the new console.
So Santa Claus in chat. I think Sony realized that during a worldwide recession that likely will last years, that they're not going to sell as many PS5s as they originally thought. But they have millions of PS4s out there to put out, and not to put these games out there on the platform is nuts. 100% agreed. Say it publicly.
Yeah, I think that's what you're the most animated about.
Don't hide it, and then stick it in a PlayStation blog that 5% of your user base maybe knows exists.
Yeah, and that's where the Spider-Man thing gets frustrated, which I'm so annoyed that the Spider-Man stuff, I love Miles Morales, I want him to have his own game, but it's been the poster child of them saying one thing, doing another, when...
It's PS5 only. It's its own standalone story. Oh, wait, it's really attached to the other thing, and it's kind of a Lost Legacy style expansion. Yeah. Like, huh? Yeah. This has only been since June. This game got announced June 11th, and it has changed from next gen only to expansion to the current Spider-Man universe to, it'll play on PS4 only as well. Like, come on.
Oh, and for an extra $20, you get the original game that we said we weren't going to remaster and put out on a PS5, but here it is. Look at it, it's extra $20.
And I'm probably going to buy that one because if it's the better gaming experience, I want it. And if I'm going to have the console that has the ability to do it, it's like the analogy I keep using. Like, it's like, why would you buy a speedboat to put it on a pond?
Yeah. Like, and well, like, I want to replay the Spider-Man game. I'll probably spend the extra $20 and get the Miles Morales one and replay Spider-Man.
So I'm looking for. I got out of my house today. I went to a GameStop. I put a mask on, and I put $55 down on a new discless console and another controller because I want to play games with my kids, want to play games with my wife, and I want the new console. And I'm getting the Series S. If everything lines up, I'll get the Series S. And I will have the ability to cover next-gen gaming on digital days. I will have the ability to play games and have fun. I can play Watch Dogs in a higher-looking game. I can play Marvel's Avengers in a higher-looking resolution. I can play Destiny at 60 frames and not sit there and drink an entire bottle of pop or soda or whatever the hell you call it while I'm waiting to load into the tower. I can do all that stuff on my fancy new piece of hardware. That's fine. I'm on board. I'm 100% behind it. I'm very, very frustrated with Sony right now because I thought that I was going to get a machine that I needed to be able to play certain games, and to find out today that that's not the case agitated me.
Clearly, you've been very agitated about this console launch. Dave, you've been saying it a lot. It is what it is. We're both suckers. We're both going to buy it day one. We're both probably going to end up with an Xbox Series X. And that's... I'm just excited that we got the release date. I already marked the days off with my work. And now it's just a matter of like, will I actually get a console? Because Best Buy just took it out of my cart. So I'm probably not going to get it from Best Buy. So I'm going to be on my porch release day waiting for Amazon to ship it because the package thieves are going to be in full force that day.
That week.
Yeah, so I'm going to just be on my porch for 2 days just waiting for the delivery man. But yeah, I think we're ready to wrap this up, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Like, I think we've talked this to death. We got price, we got release date.
Yeah, it was just annoying to me. That's all. It's just the marketing and the stuff being hit. Every time Sony has a press conference or an event, there always seems to be more stuff happening after the event. It's almost like you should just, like you said, just if the event airs at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just watch it at like 10 o'clock at night. It'll be better because you'll have a better understanding of what's going on.
You'll have all the press releases and all that stuff just to clarify. I'm just waiting for them to put more asterisks, like live annotation asterisks in their videos of just like, well, here's the truth. Click on this, and then you can get like the actual details.
But
God, it would almost be better if they would have marketing like better on PlayStation, like the Xbox does, just so you can know like what you're getting for some of these games.
Yeah. So all right. So yeah, we're almost at a regular podcast episode at this point in time. So
Yeah.
we're gonna wrap it up. Again, please, feedback is always appreciated. If I am pushing too hard, if you guys like I've gotten a little bit of feedback sometimes where you guys think that have been a little bit overly animated the last couple weeks. Please let me know. If it's something that's turning you off, let me know. But if it's
turning them on, Dave?
Well, I mean, I like to have a good conversation. I don't want us to sit here, Michael and I, to go, yeah, I agree. That's cool. Okay, that's interesting. Like, I like to try to have a conversation, a back and forth. I love, same thing with chat. Like, even when we're, I'm playing a game, interacting with chat. Like, that's kind of the gist of what we try to do here. I don't want us to sit here and be like, oh, let's just go by everything that Sony does is great. Everything that Microsoft does is great. Both of these companies have made catastrophic mistakes during this console launch catastrophic mistakes are is maybe not the right choice of word, but they're both doing very interesting, very different strategies. And when we look back in 2 or 3 years, we might be like, wow, that was really dumb, or wow, that was really smart.
I want the book, the behind the scenes book on this launch in particular, more than like any launch in recent history.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's kind of two directions this can go. Like, Sony will win the console war and look like that relying on the library is it won, or Xbox will have Game Pass on every single device in the world, and people will be playing all their games all the time. So, who knows? But thanks. We like the passion. That's a good word to use, I guess. But I appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody listening. All the links in the show notes are down there. Social group, join the Facebook group so I can mess with you on there too if you want me to. And then patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. And there's where you can help us pay for these consoles. And then there's also a direct PayPal link where you can help us pay for these consoles so maybe I don't get a divorce. Kidding. I won't buy something I can't afford. I hope everyone has a great rest of their week, and let us know, please, feedback on these episodes. Let us know. Like, this is I think we're over 56 or 57 unique pieces of content on the feed in less than a year. So if we're giving you guys too much, let us know. If you want to hear more different things, let us know. Twitter accounts, everything are in the show notes. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Hopefully you get a pre-ordered console. Somebody somewhere tweet at us if you get your pre-order so we know. And we'll talk to you guys next week or in a couple days.
Couple days. See ya.